The following is a transcript between Matías De Stefano, referred to as me, and his higher self, referred to as I am, originally produced on January 7th, 2021, under the constellation of Capricorn in the mental week. Me. Is there a God? Is God the creator of all things? If God creates the universe, where does God live? Is God something separate from the universe, or is it the universe? Is there a purpose in creation? If God created me in His image and likeness, then can I also be God? Can I create, or only God can do it? I am. What do you feel when you go to paint? Me. I don't know how to describe it. It's like an impulse. Suddenly, one day, I feel something running through my body, something that doesn't go through my mind. In fact, my mind goes blank. The first thing that I do is put everything I'm going to use, even though I don't know what I'm going to paint. But I like order at the beginning of things, even if later it becomes chaotic and dirty. I put the brushes to the side, all sorted by size, the palette with the mixer, the gouge just in case. I use the plaster, and all of the acrylic colors, which I sometimes arrange by color palettes in front of me so I can find them easier. Normally, I know that I will start by painting a map. I am fascinated by painting the earth. I am. And what do you feel while you paint? Me. Strangely, a bit of responsibility arises for me. That is, I think things like, if you don't get the right color the first time, you'll be wasting material. And if you don't draw the right measurements, the whole map will be disproportionate and you'll have to start over again. Well, I usually start with Europe, always, because its shape helps me as a reference point for the rest of the sizes. But if I do it wrong, it's incredible how it will affect Australia and its distance from Antarctica and South America. When I have managed to have the sketches of the map and the distances are appropriate, I begin to fill in with the base colors, white, blue, yellow, colors that help to distinguish the contours and contrast and serve as a base for the rest. That's when the mind begins to go blank, as in the meditation process, in which I fixedly observe the brush going through the established lines and filling the spaces that makes my mind feel ecstasy or pleasure. When I discover the colors, I am amazed and I am fascinated to see how they look when I mix with the other layers. I feel like each brushstroke makes me discover something new, and more realistic the colors are, the more I feel that I am traveling across the surface of the world. As in a meditation in which instead of closing my eyes to travel the earth, I have them wide open, contemplating how I create each of its corners. I am, and what are you doing it for? What is the purpose? Me, I don't know. It doesn't have a purpose. Simply, when I finish a continent, I smile, and I walk in circles staring at it, feeling part of it. And when I finish the whole earth, I look at it in a wonder, like a lover contemplating every corner. I feel like every time I paint it, I discover something new in myself, and it helps me to know how much I have learned to contemplate. I don't find a purpose other than contemplation. I am. And how many have you painted? Me. Too many. The first one was when I was 15, the week before I moved to Spain. I took a piece of wood and I painted a world map. I left it to my grandmother as a gift before leaving without knowing when I would see her again. It was the first time I painted her. I felt that it was the first time that I would go so far, and I needed to capture that the world was my home and that I would never really be far away if Earth was the same house where I was born. And now that I think about it in retrospect, I was trying to design something that would make me feel at home. I am. And what do you feel like now that you look at it? Me. My house. Wow. You just brought tears to my eyes again. I see my house, and I see the lemons in my garden, and my great-aunt watering her plants, and my great-grandmother harvesting in the garden. The animals in the garden of the shed, my mother painting with me, my grandmother cleaning, my grandfather listening to classical music while polishing the coins, my aunt sewing on the stairs. Every time I paint the earth, I am saying, this is my home. Even if I go far away, I'm still here. It's small. It's a small world, and I created it. It's my home. I feel at home when I see the earth. I feel like a child. I feel innocence. I feel the thousands of opportunities that exist. You make me cry. I was just asking questions. You do the recognition process. Who is God? Me. Once upon a time, there was an angel alone in a dark corner of the universe, who with no one to love him and no one to love. And then one day he decided to create life that he could love and thus be able to feel loved. And the living of his creation, they called him God. God is a child playing alone in a room in the cosmos, hoping to be reunited with his family and to feel love. Me. That story was told to me by an angel when I was a child. He explained to me that God is not an omnipresent Almighty, but a child who loves what arises from him. And he loves him because he created him, and more importantly, the reason he loves his creation is because he reminds him of that child, and it reminds him of everything he can do. It reminds him of his home, his imagination, his infinite capacity for creation. Me. In other words, God did not create life to love him, but to remind himself of self-love. I am in the image and likeness. God is the light, from the Indo-European dewy equaling day. And this light decided to play, creating thousands of colors and spreading throughout the universe. God did not create things out of himself. All things arise from God, from light, from consciousness. All things are produced of God like the fruits on a tree. The fruits are products of this great tree of life, which will fall, separating from the great tree, suffering the fall, rotting, dying. But it is in that death that we give power to the metamorphosis of the seed, which finds stability and nutrients to grow, forming a new tree. When the apple falls from the tree, it sees the tree in the heavens, contemplating it from its branches and leaves, and feels like a fallen angel, living in a world of insects, crawling vermin that damage the skin, integrity, devour, and decompose the body, while God contemplates. What the apple does not know is that the roots of the tree support it from underneath, accompanying it in the process of resurfacing from the shadows, spreading roots and seeking light in its buds. Me, so God is not a tree, but a forest. I am a jungle, the biggest that you can imagine. And once it was a single tree, but it found a way to transcend by replicating itself, designing new options of its being. Each new shoot, each flower, each fruit generated a new seed with new information, improving, but at the same time feeling part of the old and the new. God creates himself by transcending in the thousands of ways that he replicates himself. Me, like me painting the earth over and over again, and the better I get, the closer I feel to home. I am the light that gives light to itself, searching for the origin. Do you know what that's called? I do not. I am. In Greek, origin or birth is said gen, from the Indo-European gen, which means to give birth, give birth. Me, God did not create us then, but himself. We are simple mirrors of God. We are aspects of divinity, and as such, we are creators. And in each creation, we give birth to ourselves, taking us to light consciousness. I am. This is the principle or law of generation. Me. The generation of things is the action of giving birth to something new with the sole purpose of replicating and returning to the origin, home. I am. But since it happened to you, you already live in that house. You just have to remember it. The earth is in your hands, and wherever you see it, you will know that home is there in memory, because nothing else exists, only in your mind. Me. Every time I paint, I go back to the feeling of origin in my mind, of my creative child, of my home. Every time I do something, I create a project, a trip, a relationship, a painting, a song, a child, a book. No matter what it is generating, everything is inevitably the law of generation, the natural impulse to seek the origin. I am, and that is not a purpose, because purpose is to look for something ahead, when the home and the origin of all things was always within you. Me, I am. I am. The generation reminds us that through polarity, through the axis, the positive and negative magnetic forces drive our vibration to transform its rhythms, to search itself being the cause of the effect that will be generated, projecting a response corresponding to an idea that only lives in your infinite imagination. Me. And what I generate is a product of my mind. I am. There lies the intention of all things. Therefore, you create your purpose. You design the strategy. You are the cause of your life. You attract what resonates with you. You live to the rhythm that your heart beats. You are God being manifested, and therefore you are generated and generator. Me. I am a creator in every step, every attitude. I am the greater creators, the greater divine potential. For this reason, one of the keys to finding God is to awaken the generating capacity of every human being. Me. And how do you do it? I am reawakening the child who awaits the reunion with his family, which is yourself. Go back to that child and hug him and tell him that his imagination is the only one that will set you free. Give him back the faith of creating from the game, from the fun. It returns to the child damaged, psychological abuse by the system, emotional abused by the culture, and in some cases, physically abused by the environment. Hug him and tell him that his smile elevates the world and generates forests. Tell him that he can be reborn, come home, and create new worlds. Tell the adolescent in you that sexuality is not taboo, that it is okay to feel sexual desire, and that it is okay to experiment. And tell them that he does not have to hold back, that the force of his creation is in his genitals, and that he does not have to fear or be ashamed of their own creative power. Tell him that he is a superhero, and that she is a superhero. Tell her that she is God and Goddess, which is the creator universe manifested in the human, capable of creating her own universe. Me. I am the generator of my own reality. I design my purpose, and I am the creator of my own universe. I am. Dare to create without fear. There are no limits other than what you think. Create, and when you return home, you will be millions. You will be a forest in constant generation, giving birth to existence.